So how does push hand prepare one for fighting? The short answer is it's very similar to Wing Chun. Okay, so Wing Chun, they have their forms, the techniques, and then they do Qi Shao, okay, which is what they call a sticky hand. So like, you know, they will stay like this. If you don't know it, right, approximately they will do this, and through this they will find opportunity to then learn where to apply all the different handwork that they practice. It's like a baby stage. And after that, you're supposed to then just start by doing freestyle fighting, where instead of starting from here, they'll just start from here, and they'll then try to hit each other. So that's the step you can see in Wing Chun. Now Taichi has the exact same step. Yet a lot of people now, they kind of forget about it. So push hand is basically essentially like Qi Shao, but for Taichi, and later on for Yi Quan, who learn push hand from Taichi. Next, we're going to look at how push hand can help one with fighting. So, there are many versions of push hand. We're going to go through some of the most common ones and talk about it. The first one, that most people would know when talking about push hand, yeah, they will have these 2 foot like this, and they will have the hand here and draw a circle. In the video where the fight commentary guy went to the experiencing push hand class, they also start off with something like this. But then that instructor then start doing funny stuff, and then he will like do this, and he will try to like spin him around, do all kind of trash.
Was that he was just muscling the whole time. He was muscling. I didn't feel any Tai Chi. I didn't feel any redirection of the force.
Yeah.
He's off balancing me in a certain way, right? And he's like, oh my god, suddenly he uses both hands. Or anything like that. BS. So then look at this. He tells me to put one hand, and then he like uses both his hands.
So firstly, this is a single hand exercise. You can't, while doing this, add another hand. That's dumb, okay? It's breaking the rules and it's not playing fair. Of course, push hand fundamentally is a 2-hand exercise. But if you are only going to do one hand, then stick to one hand. Don't do this, and when it suits you, use the other hand and then try to do something to make it more balanced. That is stupid. Secondly, this is just the most fundamental practice to get you the feeling of feeling him pushing you and you pushing him, and this force that you have to not push against but not lose, right? 不丢不顶. You gotta just make contact. You don't feed him too much force, and you don't want to lose contact. So this is only trains that. And a basic idea of him coming to me, I neutralize her coming to him, and he neutralizes her coming to me. So this doesn't actually serve any higher purpose. It's the most fundamental thing, a baby step, so to speak. And to better understand this, right, we'll look at a more primitive version of this, which basically looks like this. So he will actually just push forward, I'll do this, I'll push back, and he will do that, okay? So this is actually the more primitive version of this. And in some Tai Chi learning, you still see a similar exercise, but they will do it softer, so it will be like this. So this is actually the more primitive version, and you can make more sense because it's a linear thing. It's basically just a single drill that, I attack and he defend, he attack and I defend. That's all it is. And because Tai Chi, eventually, if you look at Chen style, right, it is like a spiral exercise. Everything is in a linear spiral way, so from which this kind of makes more sense. But as it became Yang style, which is more circular, peng, right, the inflation force. If you look at the form, like if in Chen style, right, the hand is like this. You can see that it is kind of spiral forward. Whereas if you look at Yang style, it's circular. Which is why later on, instead of doing this, it became a circular exercise. This is due to better fit the Yang style mechanic, which is an inflative 8-directional force. But fundamentally, it's the same idea that he's attacking, I'm neutralizing, I'm attacking, he's neutralizing. That's all there is. And that's why this is pretty useless. It's only the first step to just get you used to switching around between the attacking and defending. After that, then a lot of Tai Chi they have a 2-hand version of the push hand, which we're not going to show in detail here because Eric doesn't do it. He doesn't do it because I probably found that not that useful, so I didn't teach it to him. We skipped it. And I think it's pretty normal to skip it. but it looks something similar to this. You can't do it, but he doesn't know it. But it's something, yeah, you start over here, and then you basically do this, and then you something to this effect. So this is the second version. In this one, you basically supposed to practice the four main forces, 彭吕己岸. And then later in other lineages, like the Chen lineage, they have one where it's called 大吕, with basically he will have his hand here, and I'll go down here, and then comes up, do something, and then I'll step, and then he will step back. Yeah, step back. Yeah, and so again, you can just watch Chen village videos, and you will see these. It's called 大吕, it's another version. But all of these are just like side draws that all eventually to pave its way to the main push hand exercise. Okay, which is what we call 打轮. It means to make wheels or make circles. That's actually the main practice of push hand. That's the one. All of these are small steps eventually leading to this one main push hand. And funny enough, the main push hand is the one that you don't see people doing that often. And when they do, they only show it to you. They don't actually talk a lot about it. So the real important version of push hand, the final step to push hand, looks something like this. So you engage here, and you basically draw a circle. That's why it's called 打轮. And depending on the lineage, there will be a slightly different in the circle. For example, if it's a yang style, most of the time, it will make a bigger circle. So it will be like this. And if you do 一拳, it will be a smaller circle that will be here. Okay, and now you might be wondering, exactly how is this different from all the other push hand, and why is this more important or more practical? So here we're going to explain just exactly what the purpose of this. So, during this push hand, every moment is a defense and offense opportunity. Okay, so once you start here, let's start with this hand. If I'm moving here, then already he can punch me in the face or in the chest. So the moment I'm touching him, I'm listening or sensing his motion here to prevent him from making a move here or to make a move here. So while we're doing the circle, we're not just doing circles mindlessly. If you're doing this, push hand means nothing and will not serve you any purpose. What I'm actually doing is every moment I'm trying to test, and he's trying to test too. So we're always on edge. It's almost like we both have a knife and we don't know who's gonna poke first. Okay? And when his hand passes the dangerous threat, then my hand is in range to hit him. So over here, he needs to use his Taichi structure or 一拳 structure to do a 彭力, to prevent me from collapsing his structure. If I'm coming here and his structure is like this, for example, then the moment I sense that I'm going to push in, either hit him or push him. So he doesn't want that. So the moment he feels any slight threat that I'm going for his center line, he's going to deflect it. And the moment he deflects it, then I don't want to go any further, because if I do, he can push in and close in the gap. So the moment I feel that I'm no longer in his center line, I'm slightly off his center line, then I'm going to have to make a round two to prevent him from breaking through that structure. And then we get to here. And the moment I'm coming here, then I have to strike on his ribs and his stomach, you see, from here. So even though he's moving out here, he's actually listening or sensing any movement. If I do anything, he needs to come back here. So the whole time, we are sensing each other's intention and force to make sure that none of us are giving each other an opportunity to strike. And then from here, we then come up here, and that's where I can strike him. You see, now I'm close to his face. And if I do that, then he needs to shut it off. But if I don't, we naturally come up here, then he's now threatening me. And I have to then make sure that his spine doesn't slip over by doing this. And then we repeat to here. Now I'm going to try to break his structure there. He's not going to let me. And then over here, I'm going to watch out for his punch to my ribs. If he does, I'm going to either do that, or if I'm quick enough, I'm going to come on top. When that don't happen, then I come on top anyway. And then that completes two circles. So in one circle, my hand's on the outside. Another circle, my hand's on the inside. Other side exactly the same, but on the opposite end. So if the one is here, the other one is there. So you always have one hand on the outside, one hand on the inside. So that's essentially it, okay? of why we're doing these circles. So we're not doing them mindlessly. Every moment is an opportunity to strike. That's why this is a precursor to free hand sparring or 散手. And of course, at the same time, it also teaches you structure. Because when I'm contacted with him, I'm constantly tasting for his structure, and he's constantly tasting for my structure. So if doing this, I feel that at any moment, from his shoulder is slightly going up, and I feel there's a weakness, I can then try to apply force to break that structure. And for example, if I try to break that structure and he does something to resist it, then I will then try to do something else to break his structure. So at any moment, you're trying to sense each other's weakness, which is why you have to remain perfectly structured, right? And everything you do, you have to make sure that there's no... You have to be inflated ball, so if any part is not inflated, he's going to use it against you. So at the same time, not only are you training opportunity to strike, you're also training an inflated structure and to resist his pressure without being overly tense. You're basically trying to absorb the pressure he applied through your whole structural frame rather than localized muscles. So essentially, when we're doing this circle, it's almost like separate punches linked together. So the one punch is me punching him here and he's stopping me. One is him punching me here and I'm stopping him. And then when we come here, it's almost like me pulling it out, like if he's here, I'm going to do this and punch him, but in a slow motion. And then when I'm doing this, it's like he's stopping me. And when it comes up, it's just like in a situation where he's going to punch me and I'm going to stop him. So it's actually various punching and blocks that are linked to get into a continuous motion. And you might ask, why do you want to link it together? Why can't you just train these punches separately? Okay, the simple answer for that is because Taichi is a close-range fighting style. Okay, so there are different types of fighting approach. For example, boxing is a very good example of a disconnected, distanced fighting style. What it means that I don't want to be up here. I mean, even though in boxing matches, people do come up here, but that's more as a way to make use of the rules. And then maybe I'm tired or I'm on the defense, and then once you come here, it's very hard to do stuff, and sometimes you just hug each other and wait for the judge to break them off. But if you want to hurt somebody in boxing, you very seldomly do this. You want to be able to control the distance and then try to catch him with a hook or uppercut. I mean, Tyson is exception, right? He often comes here and while in this right, he hit really hard on the ribs, and when a guy, get hurt, he punches him in the jaw and knocks him out. But it's in rare cases. Most of the time, boxing is a fighting style that wants to have some distance. You want to control the distance. Obviously, you want to be able to move back when you don't want to engage, but I want to be able to step in and hit the guy. It's disconnected. Every punch is individual. A good example of that in Chinese martial arts is 五行通背. Okay, 五行通背 is also a style where I don't want to be tangled up with him. I want to be here. If he comes, I'm going to hit him. If he does something, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him, I'm going to hit him. So 五行通背 is more like boxing. But Taichi is different. Taichi is almost like Wing Chun, but different. Wing Chun has a kind of triangular structure where it's from the side going to the middle, where Taichi and Yichuan, for that matter, which is heavily influenced by Taichi, has a circular framework. And why would you want to contact somebody rather than break off and punch, right? For the simple reason, if he's throwing punches and I'm throwing punches, there's a good chance we both gonna get punched. Of course, you can block, you can evade like slips, bob and weave, like in boxing. But there's always going to be a risk of we both throw punches and both hit each other, which is why some people in history came out with a different approach. Now, I'm not saying this approach is definitely better, right? There are good and bad on both approaches, connected and disconnected. But from the perspective of someone who wants to fight connected, they do so by the understanding that if I can wrap his hand up, then he can't punch me. If we both have our hands free, I don't know when he's going to punch. So I might punch him and he's going to punch me and then we're going to both get hit. But if I engage somebody and my hands are here, then whatever he's doing, I can feel it, and therefore I can have a much better reaction, and then I can use that reaction to move him out of the way so I can hit him without him hitting me. So you first wrap somebody's hand up, and then you look for opening. So that's the main concept of Taichi and Yichuan. Okay. And which is why push hand is important, because it trains that connected feeling, control of his body work, structure, as well as when is the perfect time to punch. The moment I touch him, and through this motion, I'll be able to train myself to feel when is a good opportunity to punch and to respond. If I punch him and he stops me, what should I do afterwards? What's the follow-up? And when I hand engages him, how do I break his structure? We'll give you a few examples of how this is done. So at first, you're going to just do the circle, and then you're allowed to step. So for example, you can step backwards, you can step forward. So you're allowed to basically step however you want. And then we can also don't step depending on how it feels. I can step sideways. So stepping is free, okay? And once you are familiar with this basic circular motion, then is when the real game begins. So depending on how I feel, I could try to come here and open up that way. And once I feel the solidness, I will hit him in. And obviously when I do that, then he will try to not let me reach his hand. So you see that's exactly where the push and exercise comes in. And then I'll basically try to do that. If I come on top, I'm going to try to hold him down. So you can see then it becomes various ways to try to break his structure. I would basically want to give you a simple idea. If somehow both my hands on the top, with circling, and my both hands happen to be on top, I'm going to be doing that. And from here I can either send him out, or I can do that and punch him. And you can, in case you don't know why we do the push, right? Why in Taichi we push people, right? It's dumb. I push him, he's going to come back, and nothing's going to happen. The fight still continues. This is actually the friendly way to show that I've won. If I can push somebody, then I have enough time to punch him. It takes more time to push someone than it takes to punch someone. That's the only reason why you push. Also to see if your body is connected. If my body is not connected properly, so maybe I broke his structure, but I was also not in a good position. My push is weak. I just did this. Then you know that even if you would hit him, it would not have hurt, and that's invalid in terms of this exchange or training. But if you're doing this, and I do that, I go pop, and then if he, judging by how far he goes, I'll be able to tell how well my body is coordinated and how well the timing I gripped. Did I attack him at the moment of vulnerability, or was he able to recover from the first move and rebalance himself to resist my push? From that, we can gauge how well a strike would have happened on him. Of course, because we are training partners, I'm going to do this and punch him for real. Very soon, you're not going to have a training partner anymore. So that is why you do push when you're training with somebody who is friendly. But if I were to go out and challenge people in push hand, then depending on the agreement, sometimes it's only push, sometimes we're allowed to hit. And when we're allowed to hit, it kind of gets ugly. And that also brings a very important point in Taichi push hand. Traditionally, this is a rule. Push hand is like a virgin. Your body is not allowed to be touched. Okay? And from that other video, you can see that Taichi guy, his body's been touched the whole time.
Jiu-jitsu and judo. So our man here, Taichi guy's trying to BS some wrestling technique, and Luca, being the high school wrestler, is like, I'm not gonna buy this.
Look at that underhook. He's got the lat. He's ready.
Yeah.
Look, he's like, nope.
So
I got this.
So the Taichi guy's like, okay, no, I don't think. And he said something even something about how my shoulder like traps his hand or something.
Oh no, this is where he
literally, does this and this. Oh, sorry. It's like that's not how push hand is. In push hand, if the moment I touch his body, he lost. That is the original efficacy and rule. Reason for that is because if I can touch his body, I can punch him. And if you think, okay, but don't you need distance to punch? See, that is the difference in Taichi. In some other martial arts, you need distance to punch, but in Taichi and in Yiquan, right, which is again come from Taichi predominantly, Yiquan is basically a blend between Xingyi, Taichi, and a bit of Bagua. In these styles, they actually are able to apply the hand and then apply force and cause a shock to the system. And to give a quick example of that, so I'm not hitting too hard, but just give a rough idea. So instead of having a distance to punching like that, we're gonna just do it's like this and then that. So that's how a typical internal punch with the Taichi or Xingyi would typically look like. And you can see that I don't need all that distance. I need to put out, I can literally do this, and then do that, and then do that. And how does it feel?
Pretty so.
It's pretty cool. Obviously, I'm not at the best, so I've met masters like the Yao brothers, Da Cui, they hit a lot harder than me. And I've got hit by something like that. At one time when I was in China, training with the Yiquan master, basically what happened was he took my hand here and he hit me in the ribs. And right over here, I was in pain for a month. I can't use the side of my arm. I couldn't get off bed from that side. I have to rotate myself and then get off bed this way. It was a lot of pain just from one punch. Which is why you don't want to be punched when you're doing push and exchange. Okay? You're not allowed to touch the body. If you touch the body, you're considered to lost. So back to the way you break the structure. So firstly, if I'm both on top, then that's the way. If my hand are both on the bottom and from he's going for my chest, then he's there, and then I push him back. And if it's one up, one in, then often if I'm initiating, I can go in this way. And when I meet resistance, I'm gonna break that way, and then I'm gonna push him there. Or if we're doing this, and he engages first, I can also then do that, and then comes in. And so it gets more complicated. For example, if I'm at the bottom, he's at the top, and he's got my hand very low, then at this point I can't really move all the way back up. Now I just squeeze in that way. And then once I feel like he's lost his balance, then I come back around and hit him. And stuff like if we get to here, and I feel like that he's pivoting on my arms, trying to push down and to do that, I can use it to actually keep doing it, and use that to then pull his balance forward instead. There's a lot of subtleties to it, because all of it bases on the connection here. There's no grabbing or touching the body at all. And lastly, my favorite, the spin, right? So when doing this, if I apply force there and I feel that he's resisting, then it's there. And over here, then you either punch him or you can rear naked choke him, which is jiu-jitsu, but you can do it in that situation. So that's how push hand is supposed to work. And you should see by now how this will then translate into fighting, because if you're fighting based on Taichi or Yiquan, you're not going to stay here and try to throw punches and then duck and then try to do that. Instead, you want to get close and wrap the guy up. So we're not going to go into too much detail, but let's just say that every time I engage him, either both of my arms are on the outside, or one can be on the inside, one's on the outside, or both are going to be on the inside. And based on that kind of difference, through this training, I already know what response I should have. So if we were squaring off, obviously not realistically, we're not actually sparring. Just give you an idea. If we were squaring off, if I'm able to come up to him and it feels this way, then I can know, I'll punch him there, and punch him there. So I need that split moment of breaking his balance. And that experience is what you're supposed to get from each one. Or we're throwing off, and I come here and I feel he's making a move on me, then immediately, this one comes here and I'm gonna punch him there. I'm still watching for this one. And if he punches this one, I'm gonna try to do that. If he's actually pushing me inwards, then I have to then try to do it that way. So all these last moment response come from this exercise. Which is why push-up is a very important step towards the free sparring that Taichi and Yiquan are supposed to do. And you can only do that through this one version of push-up. You're doing those wrestling stuff, it's not going to come up to this result. You might be good at grappling range, but I will argue that you will not do as well if you've been a real person who does real wrestling, whether it's Roman Greco, freestyle, or whatever. You're gonna suffer. So if you do any martial art, you have to understand what is the strength of it and what is weakness. And primarily in Taichi, its strength is basically breaking somebody's structure up close. So if you're not doing this, then you are not actually doing what Taichi is good for, and maybe you should just stop doing Taichi if you are doing it for a combat purpose. Of course, if you're doing it for fun, you're doing it because it looks cool, when you impress your friends, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing it for self-defense or practical purpose, and you're not doing Taichi in this fashion, then you're frankly wasting your time. And anything you want to add?
No.
So this is the real meaning behind Taichi push hand. I hope this has made sense. And I hope that in the future, you're able to judge yourself and judge your teacher and know when you are being scammed and when you actually make a genuine teacher with genuine knowledge. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon so you can get updated on the latest content. And if you can support me on Patreon, that would greatly be appreciated. I'm going to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, especially through this pandemic. And your support makes me aware that there are people out there who values my information. And for that, I'm greatly appreciative. And of course, if you're subscribed to my Patreon channel, you have access to a lot of exclusive videos, especially on the 4 fundamental forces of internal, the 4 most important key practices that will make your internal work. If you don't have these things, obviously you don't have to get them from me. There are other teachers out there who teaches them. But if you don't do these 4 fundamental forces, you are essentially not doing internal. Alright, so if you subscribe to my channel, you have access to all this information, as well as additional information and videos that you probably can't find elsewhere on YouTube. Lastly, I'd like to remind everyone that we're still in pandemic, so keep your distance, wear a mask, sanitize your hands, and stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching TriEssence Martial Art channel.